Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This is episode 105 and a little bit of a curveball for people today. I mean, they're not going to recognize it, but you and I recognize it a little bit later than normal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We like to go in the mornings and schedules did not align. So we're doing it late, getting it in and making sure that it happens every Saturday.
Absolutely.
I know we've talked about this before and it bothers me and I don't know why it bothers me, but like we upload this every Saturday and for some reason, sometimes when we upload it, it says that it uploads on Sunday.
I was doing some thinking about that, and I think it's because the time zone for the platform that we use.
That's the only explanation that I could come up with. I don't know what it is exactly, what it's set to. Have you ever looked and seen what it's set at?
I have not, but I can. I should look into that and see.
It has to be off. I know that's so minor and it shouldn't bother me, but there's no reason, no rational reason for me to get like I don't want to say anxiety, but to get like worked up about that because it's weird that like you talk about mental toughness and you talk about being focused and all these things that we talk about all the time. And it's like I get thrown off by the tiniest things. And that's
I
something that I
understand.
really need to work on a lot.
You and me both, and probably tens of thousands of others, right?
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not saying that like the date of when we upload these like ruins my day or anything, but I feel like sometimes I do let little things grow into big things. And I feel like I don't know I don't know if this is better or worse, the fact that I'm conscientious of it because I know that I do that. So like there's two sides you could look at. You could say, okay, well that's number one is it's the one side is like it's a positive that I'm recognizing the fact that I let little things build up or I let little things become issues or whatever. But then the other side is you could also say a second train of thought would be that it's a bad thing that I'm cognizant and recognizing these things and I'm still allowing it to happen.
That's an interesting thing, and I think that plays over into a lot of areas of life. I think like weight loss in general. You know what I mean? So like almost everybody that needs to lose weight knows they need to lose weight, and they still choose to do the wrong things to not do that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
one
a
of
really
them.
good point.
I'm one of them through and through, inside and out. You know what I mean? Like for years, I knew I needed to lose weight, and I even knew what to do to lose weight, and I still would go through the drive-through and get a Big Mac and fries, and did say I need to lose weight. You know what I mean? So like, I think we all do that to an extent. I think it's just as long as we monitor how much we allow ourselves to do that, and we reel it in. I think that is the key.
I know, dude, that when you say that, it's so funny because like you deal with that. I mean, like weight loss is a really, really good example. But you have that in all areas of fitness, and truthfully, you have it in all areas of life where
Yeah,
like I find
finances.
myself doing that sometimes too, is like saying, do as I say, not as I do type deal. And
Yeah,
sometimes I'm not always like the greatest exemplar of good eating or whatever lifestyle issues that you're trying to like elicit or you're trying to get out of your clients. Sometimes I don't always model that ideally. And I actually had that conversation a while ago with someone. It was one of my coworkers at school, and they were ordering fast food or something. And that's my like my how do I want to word it? Not like a guilty pleasure, but that's like my weakness is fast food. I know that everybody
yeah.
has some type of like nutritional weakness. Like some people like sweets and like donuts and cookies or candies. Like I never got too much into that. Mine would be like fast food, and I would order it from time to time. And the one day I was like, adamant that I was going to stick to I don't want to say my diet because that kind of gives off connotations of like a caloric restriction or whatever. And I'm not necessarily restricting my calories. In fact, it's the opposite, but sticking to a plan. And I told someone, one of my coworkers asked if I was ordering food, and I said no. And she made the comment that she's like, "Oh, you've been eating really healthy lately," which naturally I try to do all the time. And she said, "Are you getting ready for a competition?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm not. I don't have any plans to compete. But if I feel like I want my clients to be, on their programs 100% of the time, Like I can't tell people to be 100% if I'm only 70%.
Right. Exactly.
So it's kind of like not overstating my importance, but almost like a role model type thing, like lead by example, because like how can I expect people to stick to their plan if I'm not sticking to mine? I feel like it's very narrow-minded and self-centered to not really do things on your end that you're asking other people to do. So that's something that I've been trying to do lately. And it's not just nutritionally speaking, it's with everything, just trying to be a better example of what I expect other people to be.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and like, so I've been asked a few times from numerous people, why don't I help people lose weight? Like, as far as actually coaching, I guess I'm using the air quotes. If this was video, everybody would know that. But, like, coach people to lose weight. Like, and I said, you know, and my answer is pretty uniform and it's always the same, is that's a goal. That's something that I would like to work towards because I've had a very influential coach in my journey who's helped me un, unfathomably. But, and I want to be that for somebody else. But right now, I can't because I'm obviously not where I need to be. You know what I mean? So, like, my answer is always that. Once I get down to, I don't want to say the goal weight, but the goal of being normal, you know, I think at that point I will, because nobody's going to hire a guy to help them lose weight that looks like me. You know what I mean? And that's in my head. I know that's a thing in my head, but I want to be somebody that helps people and can show them the steps and the setbacks and the peaks and the valleys in the program because I walk the walk and I know it all. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like fully respect that. I do, but at the same time, you could look at it a bunch of different ways. I mean, like there's a lot of NFL coaches or NBA coaches that didn't play professional basketball or professional football.
Right.
Sometimes like you can't necessarily look at your accolades and accomplishments as an athlete and have them be directly paralleled with your accomplishments or accolades or credentials, I guess, as a coach. So like you, I'll use the example of bodybuilders just because it's one that I'm familiar with and I reference a lot. Like a lot of these professional bodybuilders, almost all of them have coaches that they seek out. And a lot of times the bodybuilders themselves, admittedly on their own accord, don't know much of anything. You know, it's all coming
Right.
from an external source. Now, the coach doesn't, just because the coach doesn't look like a professional bodybuilder doesn't mean that he or she doesn't know what they're doing. You know, that's just due to lack of, or shouldn't say lack of, but significantly different goals. Like they don't want to be a bodybuilder, they want to coach bodybuilders. Therefore, they have like a certain skill set, and all of their energy is aimed at making other people better, not making themselves better in the sense in bodybuilding terms. And then the other thing I think to consider here too, and I know I've talked to this or to you about this a lot, and I'm sure that it's been on air a couple times at this point, is when it comes to coaching, because that's like, dude, that's like a really big thing now, is people, I'm not sure how much you see it on social media, but that's a really big thing now, is people bashing coaches if they're not like a top level. Like there's some type of like test you have to pass or some type of credentials that you have to accrue over time in order to be deemed a coach. Like they say, oh well, people do one show and then everybody thinks they're a coach, which I understand that's a problem if you don't have a good foundational knowledge and you compete once and then you suddenly market yourself as trying to do things for other competitors. But there's two things that I think about is, number one, the caution needs to be taken on the side of the consumer. Like if you're hiring someone, you need to make sure that that person knows what they're doing, do their homework first. And
Right.
The coach can't be responsible for other people hiring them. But the second thing is, I feel like there is a coach for everybody. So I'm not even going to get into like the specifics of you, because you're kind of a unique animal in the sense that you've lost more weight than I ever have in my whole life. Now, again, that's not to say that I don't know how to coach people to lose weight, because I've gone through periods of weight loss and fat loss for competition. And I obviously would like to think that I have some idea of what I'm doing, or at least a semblance of an idea of what I'm doing. But like, there's always a coach for everybody. So if you only lose, let's say you're just a gen pop, what we call them, just general population, a normal client of mine who loses 50 pounds through proper nutrition, proper exercise protocol, proper lifestyle changes, and you do that in the course of 6 months. Well, there's people who have never lost any weight that person had now, who has 6 months of experience of proper nutrition, proper training, proper lifestyle, and they receive coaching from me, that they're going to have a little bit of a foundational knowledge base to help someone who's never done any of that. So someone who's never
Right.
worked out, someone who's never followed a nutrition plan. And like, I think that it's really cool because those people can help other people. And then I see coaching influence in that. So some of the things that I've given people, they've helped other people with and followed kind of similar, like similar patterns to what I would give, not necessarily exact diet plans, of course, or exact training protocols, but I see my influence on what they've learned and what they believed in and their like philosophy on training and nutrition. And then they kind of like bestow that on other people too. So it's kind of like almost like a tree that branches off and keeps on giving to people, which is neat. But the point stands that I feel like no matter how much inexperience you feel like you have, there's always someone that's beneath you in a sense, in terms of like what they've accomplished in the particular realm. So like if we're talking fitness, like muscle gain, weight loss, just overall health in general, no matter how big you are, how minimal people like yourself feel like you've accomplished, I feel like there's always an audience. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting into coaching someone to be on stage if you've never done it yourself or whatever. But I just feel like it's okay because there's never a shortage of people that need help, but there's certainly a shortage of people that are willing to offer the help.
Right. And I guess that's where I guess my situation's a little unique because I'm always available to help. Like if somebody needs help with losing weight or where to start, or they need a buddy to go walk with, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later, but a buddy to walk with or somebody to work out with, or just show them the general ropes of what to do in a gym, or be there. I hate it. I don't like it, but they're like a life coach or accountability coach. And there, I'm using the air quotes again. I'm always that person because I had a few of those people that just were there for me when I started, and
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. But and then I have people that want me to not want me to coach them, but want me to. Like they haven't outright asked, but they're asking the questions that all lead up to that. And I'm like, I just don't feel like, and I know what you're saying, and I know you're right. To be honest, it's that this is that thing where this is where that ties in for me because like I know you're right, but I'm still doing it.
I know we've
You know,
talked about this before briefly, and I've not looked it up, but I believe, and hopefully I'm not misusing this phrase, but I've heard it before, and I'm pretty sure that's what they call imposter syndrome. Have you heard of that?
yeah, I think I am the poster child for that
And
sometimes.
hopefully I'm using that in the right context, where it's my understanding that the imposter syndrome, and again, I could be way off on this, but I'm pretty sure that it's where someone who accomplishes something and has like almost like this
Like a low self-esteem.
yeah, like this aversion to compliments and to recognition for what they've accomplished. So like the perfect example would be someone who has the ability to be a coach but just doesn't think that they can do it, or don't think that they're highly qualified or they have enough experience. And I mean, the reality is with everything that the only way you're going to get experience is to get experience. So it's like finding a job. Like it's difficult for some people in certain fields. Like I have a buddy of mine who was going through. He's a graphic designer, and I know that he and I talked about this before when he first graduated and was looking for jobs. That he said most people want like a lot of experience, and it's tough because the only way to get experience is to get a job, but people won't give you jobs unless you have experience. So coaching is
Right.
one of those unique avenues where, like when I first started coaching, I just helped my friends make diet plans and training programs, and just kind of did it for free. And then coincidentally enough, here's how the universe works. I met up with a friend of mine earlier today. He's a doctor of physical therapy from Pittsburgh. He and I went to college together, and he was actually the first person that I prepped for a bodybuilding show in a very, very hands-off role. So he essentially did his own thing, nutritionally speaking, and was just kind of bouncing ideas off me and would text me throughout the week, just kind of like as a resource. More so than anything, it was really me just calming him down. Like he knew what he was doing was right, but he needed like affirmation. He just needed it confirmed through someone else, like myself, like a third party. Like, yes, dude, you're fine. You look great. Keep pushing. Like, yes, stay cardio. Yes, lower carbohydrates right now, or whatever the issues were from a week to week basis. But I just kind of, he was kind of my first person that I helped. And you really like do, and I know this is how you are being a giving person, but you do that stuff for free initially. And then
Right.
you build up the experience and you build up a little bit of a reputation and you build up a skill set too. Like I like helping people. Well, initially I liked helping people for free a lot just because I felt like it was making me better. It's like, yeah, I'll do this for you for free just because it's going to strengthen my skill set and allow me to, well, like I could use you as an example with Trainerize. When I
Yeah.
first started with this new interface, I said, hey, come back on as a client. Don't pay me anything. I'm just going to work with you through Trainerize. So it's going to give me an opportunity to familiarize myself with this interface and familiarize myself with how the app works. Because I've told people before, we've mentioned on previous episodes that through my coaching, all of my online clients and my lifestyle clients and the people that I coach, we all go through an app called Trainerize. It's kind of like this database that I use, and it's very, very thorough and very, very cool. Well, when I was first switching over all my clients from like an email exchange, essentially, over to like this program, I needed experience with the program to see how it works and get feedback. And because I'm on my end as the coach, but like the client app is different than the coaching app. Like what I see, like my dashboard is much different than yours. So I told you, like, hey, you're going to be doing me a favor. So let's have mutual favor exchange here. You get back on the plan with me, and it'll help me kind of troubleshoot any issues I have or see what my other clients see. So that way I can understand a little bit better. So there's like, I think
Yeah.
that when you first start coaching or when you think about coaching or whatever, you're going to have to realize that you got to do a lot of stuff for free initially. And that's just the nature of the beast, so to speak, you know?
Right. Right. And with me, it's not, and I'm much like you, or I'm all about helping people, and it doesn't, as long as it doesn't, it benefits me indirectly because I feel good about what I'm doing for the world when I help people.
I think that the only issue you could potentially run into, and I say this from the context of someone who's done this, is there's almost a likelihood, if not a certainty, that when you're like that, though, it's inevitable that you will reach a point at some juncture where you're devaluing yourself, though.
Yes.
So as you get a stronger skill set and you get a desire to help people and you continue to do things for free, there's going to be a point where you're going to have to scale back and say, okay, like initially as a coach, I wasn't worth any money. Well, now I've done this with several people over the course of the last several months. I've helped out a lot of people. I've written a lot of diet plans. I've educated myself more thoroughly. And even if it's not like a nutritional certification, just doing some research, having the anecdotal experience and evidence from the people that you did do their nutrition plans for, it's like, okay, now I need to upscale this a little bit. And that's kind of how I was with my online coaching, for example. I started doing things for free and then eventually got to the point where I said, okay, I'm going to charge for this. And it was $50 a month, which anybody who knows how coaching works in the fitness industry, $50 a month, I don't think that you'll find anybody who's not just anybody who's good, but anybody period that's going to charge $50 a month. I mean, that's like pennies.
Right.
To do nutrition plans for people and do full-time coaching where I was contacting them every day. And that ended up being a little bit too little for me because then I got to the point where I was, okay, I feel like I bring much more value than 50. And then it was 100 a month. And then after 100 a month, it was 150 a month. And then after 150 a month, it was 200 a month. And then as I got better at my job, I felt more comfortable charging people more for that because I felt like I was bringing more value. So I don't think there's any shame in, helping people for free initially. But like I said, I think that everybody runs into that point where they devalue themselves. And honestly, dude, I know how you are. You probably have done that in your life outside of coaching, just helping people in general, where you put yourself first far too few times. It's always because, like, I know, again, I know you very well, and you are the type of person that's eternally trying to help others, even if that is a demise in your own personal sense because you don't take care. I don't want to say don't take care of yourself, but you don't take care of your wants and needs first.
Yeah, that's something, that I've been told a lot. And this is another thing where I know it and I don't know how to stop it. And honestly, I don't know that I want to stop it. I maybe scale it back some, but yeah, I agree. I'd have to agree with that.
Well, you need to find balance, and that's something that I'm working on now as well. Is like, how do I find balance between being firm and assertive with my value and allowing people to understand that we're not going to cut corners when it comes to my value and what I bring to people, but then
Right.
also being a humanitarian. And like, yes, I
Yeah.
want to help people first and foremost. And, when you think about teaching and you think about coaching and you think about training athletes and you think about all the stuff that I do and you think about yourself, all the things that you do, and you more or less are in an educational role as well. Like, everything we do is founded on helping people. So you don't want
Yes.
to lose sight of that too.
Absolutely. And that's the where I find my joy is when I see the people around me doing good things, and there's a part of that I may have influenced or got to witness even.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's very enjoyable for me to see people succeed, even if their success far outgrows mine. You know what I mean? Like I don't care about me as much as I care about you and everybody else.
Well, yeah, and I think
So
that you have perspective on that. Like, you're very grateful that you can play small roles in big successes.
yes.
That's kind of like how I feel like as a trainer,
Oh,
where when my athletes, especially because like I have some athletes that come to me as a pre-made product in a sense. So I'll have athletes that'll come to me that have already gotten offers from their schools, and they will sign, and this has happened several times where they sign with a school that had offered them a full scholarship or a partial scholarship or whatever for sports, and the scholarship they received was actually offered before they ever trained with me. It was
mhm.
just how the time aligned where they receive an offer, or offers plural, and then they sign up for training with me, and then we train for several months or a year or 2 years or whatever. And then when they finally commit to a school and sign it, you know I post about it, and I never want to overstate my role with people because I see trainers do that and I see coaches do that, and it's unfortunate. But I always like tell my athletes, like, hey, I almost make a joke of it, and I'll tell people, like, hey, make sure you send me pictures from your signing day so I can post about all, or I can use your hard work as leverage for my business, like as a joke, just saying like,
Yeah.
I can use you to make me look good. Um, but I try to have full transparency with my athletes and say, hey, listen, when I post these things, I make sure I give credit where credit's due and let people know that I'm not a result, or your success is not a direct result of my training. Like, sometimes I'm just very, very thankful that you guys gave me an opportunity or a chance to play like a super small role in this, and that's all that I want. But I want to provide a little bit of some light on your situation. Like, I want to give you some publicity, and I want people to see what you've accomplished and stuff. Um, but that's just kind of my takeaway. But you definitely, like you said, you definitely find a lot of internal comfort or self-actualization. I think that might be it for me, like self-actualization, where you feel like, hey, this is my purpose. My purpose is helping people, and I feel fulfilled because I did this or did that. And really, I mean, that's our podcast in a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you and I, well, we talk about it all the time. We wouldn't have started this podcast if we didn't like trying to help people.
That's right. Exactly. That's the whole, like, the derivative of it was, wow, we have some really great conversations that could probably benefit somebody. Let's share it.
Yeah, that was it, man. We started walking and for our cardio as I was getting ready for a show, and Justin and I talked and every day, and we had some deep philosophical conversations about life and politics and religion and sports and success and money and families and relationships and everything in between. And basically, because you were the one who brought it up to me initially. I mean, we've told this story countless times, especially on our like milestone episodes where we've said how we've started and had like very humble beginnings of just mentioning in passing as we're going on our walks. Like, you know, we talk about some really good stuff. Wish people were here to hear it because I feel like it could help people.
Absolutely.
And here we are.
Yeah. It's definitely an honor. And honestly, I feel like it's almost a blessing for us, like, to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people don't, like, even me, well, me for sure in the beginning, you know, we talked a big talk and then we got down to push record on that first episode and I was like tongue tied, couldn't talk.
Well, so it's definitely an honor for sure, because like take tonight, for example, like it's very late. You've had an extremely long day. I've had an extremely long day. And we're both going to get up very early in the morning. So it would be very easy for you and I to take on this mentality of like, it's like, oh, remember when we talked about Ernie Johnson and we talked about get to and got to? The
yes.
There. He gave that speech to, I think it was Alabama's football team. He gave that speech about a got to job or a get to job. Like, I got to go to work or I get to go to work. And it would be very easy for you and I to take on the mentality of, oh crap, we got to record this podcast tonight, which truthfully, I was there a couple times tonight and I'm sure you were too. You know, you have a long drive ahead of you coming back home. It's going to be super late. You got to take care of your baby girl and your wife. And we both have to get up tomorrow morning. And it's like, oh man, we got to go record this. Okay. But then every time when I hit record, there's almost like some type of like liberation, that this free feeling. And I feel like, you know what, I come and it's therapeutic for me. I get to talk to Justin and I feel like I'm talking to a lot more than just you because people are listening. And so I kind of try to take on that mentality of like, yeah, this is an honor that I get to do this. Like, this is awesome for me.
Yeah. I can't state it enough how excited I am every week. You know what I mean? Like, when I structure my week, I start Saturday morning. Typically, Saturday morning is when I set my week up every week. I start the week on Saturday because this is the best way I can. I don't know another way that outside of my daughter that would make anything better than to start my week getting to do this podcast and getting to talk to you and all of our listeners, you know what I mean? And like the feedback and the people that send messages and say how awesome it is, you know, it's amazing. And I love it.
For sure. Now, speaking of going on the walks and starting the podcast, that actually kind of is a nice little segue into doing some updates. So let's go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll talk about some stuff on your end and my end when we come back. As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well. And we are back from our commercial break. All right, man, we'll cut right to the chase. Prior to the break, we talked about some updates, and I mentioned walking being a unique and coincidental segue into this. And I know that last episode we talked about, I believe it was last episode, how you're back walking, kind of doing like the roots, so to speak, because you go to the drawing board, and we talked about that last week as well. Going to the drawing board, finding what brought you success in a time in your life where you found like you were kind of heading in the right direction. So if it's like a physique or a weight loss goal, go back to the time in your life where you looked the best, felt the best, and what were you doing at that current time. And one of the big things that you had was walking. And I've actually been impressed, not that you're back to those roots, because I know that at a foundational level, that's what you love to do, but you're beating me to the gym a lot of times, because the track that you walk at and the gym that I work and train at are a stone's throw, literally about a stone's throw away from each other. And you send me snaps in the morning when you're walking, and I'm not at the gym yet. Usually it's very, very well timed that usually I'm on my way to the gym. So I usually get your snap on Snapchat, like the picture of you walking as I'm driving to the gym. So you don't have me beat by much, but I am impressed though, because you do have me beat for sure.
Yeah, well, you might want to wake up a half hour earlier, sir, because after Monday, I'm even more free to get and start my day when I want, and that's going to be even more regular occurrence. So
awesome.
Yeah, my new job, the training period's over, the wings are clipped, it's time to go. So I get my, I got my own route and everything, and my own people to take care of. So I have my own truck now and all that. So now literally I can start my day at midnight if I want. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's going to be a good time for me. And actually, so like getting right into updates, whenever I accepted this job, I don't even know, 6 weeks ago now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds about right, but it seems very, very long.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, you and I had a conversation that I was getting my act together, so to speak, and that's about the time that you offered me the trainerized thing, was in that area. And I said, it's going to be hit or miss, as far as consistency goes, until I get my feet wet and get in the door here at this new job and everything gets, ironed out, so to speak. And that period is over. So I have been doing a lot more walking on my end, and now it's going to be even better, because the goal is to walk 6 days a week, anywhere between 1 and 3 miles a day. I've been trying to consistently stay right about 2. I actually started running this week a little bit, not a whole lot, but I haven't ran in like a year and a half when I hurt my hip. So it feels good. Obviously I ran that 5K earlier this year, but that almost killed me. So I wanted to ease into it a little bit, but as you know, and most everybody knows by now, that I really struggle with the ease into things.
I think that you can look at that as like a bad trait, obviously, because you've had some injuries that have built up over time as a result. And the paradox here is you can't scale it back and you can't pump the brakes. You're all gas. So when you go, you look at it as a good thing because you're taking 3 steps forward, but then inevitably, as a result of that, you have to take 3 steps back too.
Right.
But I do think overall it's a good characteristic to have, just because the way that I explain it, like in terms of training athletes, I used to talk about it with like coaching football. And, I had some crazy kids over the course of the half decade that I coached football, and people would say, man, like that kid's out of control, like in the weight room, like he's crazy on the field. Like even people that push the envelope a little bit in terms of what's acceptable, like people who get personal foul penalties. like because they're too aggressive or they hit someone after the whistle. And I'm not promoting those things at all by any means. So please, people, don't take that out of context. But what I've told people in the past is it's a lot easier for me to get someone to step on the brake than it is for me to get a player to try to step on the gas.
Right.
So like with you, like you're an intelligent person when it comes to your body and training now. So like I could tell you, hey man, we need to scale this back a little bit. We need to be careful, whatever it is, and you're receptive to it, and it is what it is, and you'll account for it and plan accordingly and listen. But some people, the worst ones are the ones that don't have that, and you actually have to push them and try to motivate them, because then it just becomes frustrating on my end.
Right.
Like I
Absolutely.
try to like, I don't know, like how we always talk about surrounding ourselves with the right people and doing those sorts of things. I think that you can kind of take that in with clients too. Like Dr. Ryan Livingston, who's my chiropractor, former guest of the show, we reference him a lot. One of the things that he said to me is when he is looking at patients, he sees like there's like a vetting process with patients to see if they're a good culture fit. Like he's not just going to take any patient into his clinic and do chiropractic work on them, because he's one of those people who wants to keep you forever. Not in the sense that people think that chiropractors do, because there's like this stigma with chiropractors that they adjust you, and once they adjust you, you have to keep going back or something all the time. Like I hear that a lot. But he just wants to be fully invested in your health and well-being for as long as you allow him to be. So he
Right.
undergoes like this vetting process, basically like choosing if he will see this patient or not. And you could look at that as a business model and say, well, that's less money for you if you're getting less people, but he's getting quality people who will follow through and continue to be patients for years to come. So I think that it's interesting because he like surrounds himself with people that allow him to not get frustrated, not have success. And basically that's like kind of what I would like to do with training too. Is, I mean, you can't, like in teaching and education, you can't really just choose the students you want to teach and get rid of the ones you don't. It doesn't really work like that. But I've never really had that issue with training in the gym where I haven't had people that like that I needed to, or I've never had people that I really, really, really had to get on them about stepping on the gas pedal. Like some a little bit more than others, of course, but and then that's natural. But overall, I think it's just because people are paying for a service. So like if you're paying for a service, you're more likely to give effort into that service. So I
Right.
don't know. I just think that like kind of like we always say about surrounding yourself with good people, but the whole point of me going on that tangent was basically to say that I think that your inability to ease into things would probably be better than the extreme alternative
Right.
of
And
easing into things
through that,
gradually.
and like through that experience for me, where like you alluded to, the 3 steps forward and then taking 5 steps backwards because I hurt myself, I have learned, to I hammer on it until the brink of injury, and then I step it back, and then I hammer on it again, and it's just that's the best that I can give, because like I can't do the ease thing. I can't do the run through the gears nice and slow. It's got to be fast. I got to go. I want to go because I have somewhere I need to be, and that somewhere I need to be takes a lot of work. So I want to put the work in now so I can enjoy it. I think is the best way to explain it for me. Is like I know that no matter. I think this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier too. Like when everybody tells me how great I've done because I lost a bunch of weight, cool, that's nice. I appreciate that, but like the work's not done. Stop telling me that I've done a great job. Just say you're doing a good job, because the work's not done. It's still time to go, and that's where my head is. You know what I mean? So like I think that's why I have that I don't know if it's intensity or that will, that drive to just go all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting in my driveway right now in the lower part of my driveway in front of my gym, and I haven't worked out today. And technically Saturdays aren't a prescribed workout day, but I'm looking at this new piece of gym equipment that I got to drag in my basement. And I'm like, when we're done, I think I'm going to work out. It's going to be midnight, but it's you got to go.
And I think that part of that too is when you look at people who are cautiously easing into things or starting slow or taking baby steps. Sometimes I think that that's really a built-in excuse for people. Like I think that not a justified or rational one. I think that people use that like it was like when you and I talked about losing weight in that first stint where we worked together, where you lost over 225 pounds, I believe it was 226 pounds in a year, or 227 pounds in a year to the date. And you and I had people that it was rumored that people were saying things, and I speculate that it was out of jealousy, but saying how, oh, well, there's no way you lost that much weight doing it healthy and you didn't do it the right way. And, I kind of proposed to you. I said, well, first of all, we did do everything, in my opinion, the most healthy, because that ironically was at the forefront of everything we did was health, and it was addressed all the time. So it's funny that people say we didn't do that. But I could kind of propose to you that, and I know I've done this on air before. It's like, well, let's say that Justin was 526 pounds and we lost like well over 200 pounds in a year, but we didn't do it the healthy way. What exactly is worse? Losing 200 pounds an unhealthy way from a 226 pound man or 526 pound man, or keeping him at 526 pounds and then bringing him down to 520 for several weeks or months, and then bringing him down to 510. Like at that point, the weight just needs to come off. Like you said, you just got to go. So I think that sometimes people use that as an excuse to do things at a pace that they want to do them. Like, yeah, I just want to be lazy. But I'll tell people, yeah, I'm starting my diet. I'm just kind of doing it slowly though right now.
Right. I'm bold about it sometimes with people now. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, let me know when you're ready to go. Because when you're ready to go to the track at 3:00 in the morning, I'm there. I'll come with you every day. And that's my answer to those people that always say that they're just going to ease into it. I'm like, all right, cool, check. Well, I got to go. I have things I got to do. So, but when you're ready, let me know because I'm here.
And sometimes I think that one differentiation that you can make is sometimes there are certain protocols or plans or circumstance where you need to ease into it physically.
Absolutely, there is.
Yeah, I mean, you've gone through it, but I feel like you need to make sure that you don't ease into it mentally.
And that's the key. And I didn't think to say that, but that's the key. When I say you have to go, that just means that your mindset, your mental place, everything you do, if you're 526 pounds and you've made a decision to lose weight, your mindset should be 100%. That's the only thing I'm doing, because you're in a bad spot, friend. I know, because I'm in a bad spot. You know what I mean? Like, I understand. So like, if that's not on the forefront of everything you're doing, you're easing into it, and that's not cool.
Yeah, it's like
but when it comes to the fish,
that's the analogy that I could use, like a cold pool. Like if you stick your toe in the tip of your toe and feel that it's cold and you try to walk in really slowly, it's going to be difficult, and you're probably not going to get in because it's going to be too much. Just go to the side and jump in.
Yep, cannonball. Let's go.
There you go.
But with the physical side of it, is I get it. Like, there is limitations. When I was 526 pounds, I didn't walk every single day. I didn't start walking until I lost 100 pounds. I just dieted at full speed, 1,000 miles an hour. That's all I did, was think about, what can I make to change? What changes can I make to make me lose the most weight without having to work out? Because I knew that wasn't possible. I could barely walk outside and to my mailbox and back to my house. Like, I knew that there was no working out at that point, but I worked out with my mind. Like, everything I did was lose weight so I could go to the gym, so I could go to the track, so I could do these things. So like, I think that is something that people misunderstand when I say you have to be dedicated 100%. If you're in 100%, I'm in 100%. When I'm talking to somebody I want to help,
Mm-hmm.
when somebody asks me for help and I tell them all these things that they can do or should do, or I think they should do, or, that I did, that's usually the avenue I take is this is what I did. And I'm very open because I have everything. And I have my fitness pal that I use for dieting and I always use, and I'll open it up and I'll say, this is what I ate every single day. And it worked. And if you are willing to make the choice and the decision and invest in your own health, I'll invest in your health just as much. Like I'm with you. But if you're not, let me know when you are.
And I think that everybody could use someone in their life that offers them that same amount of support and accountability by walking with them. Because from a coaching perspective, and that kind of brings us full circle to how we started talking about the coaching thing, is, anybody can have a coach or a friend or a family member who suggests what they should do and tells them how to do it and gives them the roadmap. But it's a completely different animal in terms of how much respect you're going to get from someone and ultimately how much progress they're going to be able to make if you give them the roadmap and walk it with them too.
Right.
So maybe that could be the actionable step for this week. Give people or give our audience, a little bit of a challenge to find someone whose roadmap you have given them and start to walk it with them first to give them support.
Yeah. Show them that you're not just taught in your walk. You're not all bark. You got some bite. That invest in whatever it is. If it's weight loss or physical or money or leadership, whatever the avenue is that you've offered some help to somebody, follow up with like you said, an actionable thing, like follow up.
Yep.
Be there.
Well, man, I think that's a great place to end it now. And I assume that you are probably going to be some type of maniac and go train at midnight. So congrats on your drive and your dedication to your craft, because that's admirable. So hopefully our listeners take heed and follow suit. And I, on the other hand, am going to edit this up real quick, post it, and head to bed.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 105. We appreciate you guys as we do every week, and we look forward to hearing back from you again next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge.